Hey everyone, welcome to From the Kitchen Table. I'm Sean Duffy, along with my co-host for the podcast, my partner in life, and my wife, the great Rachel Campos-Duffy.
Sean, it's so great to be back on the podcast. Not at our kitchen table. We're actually in the New York City studios because we just went to a bunch of Fox and Friends Christmas parties.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been fun.
It was raucous. Fox and Friends staff knows how to have a fun time.
Yeah, so I've had a couple margaritas in me, so let's hope for the best here.
Well, I think I saw Brian Kilmeade double fisting like 2 beers. It must be hard to get a beer at the bar, so he's like walking around with 2 beers. I'm like, okay,
So,
wait,
anyway.
there's a great picture of Carly Shimkus, who is drinking non-alcoholic beer, but there's a picture of her holding one hand holding her belly and the other hand totally swigging this what looks like a beer unless you look close. It's non-alcoholic.
It's non-alcoholic.
But it is the funniest picture ever with
She
her
was
belly.
sitting by a table. She is the cutest pregnant person you've ever seen in your life. She absolutely glows. And so there was this giant tray of tater tots, and I brought it over and put it right in front of her, and she said that she loved me.
Right. Rachel knows what a pregnant woman wants.
I do know
Tater
what pregnant
tots.
women love.
I love it. So listen,
I'm going to tell you what else women love, Sean.
what?
Women love the whole royal drama that is really coming to a crescendo right now this week with the last 3 episodes of the Harry and Meghan docuseries dropping tonight. Now, I managed...
This morning.
Yeah, it dropped this morning, yeah. Well, I guess I'm watching the last 3 episodes tonight.
Yes.
After the next party we
It's
go
dropping
to.
in your house.
We're going to
tonight.
Lawrence Jones's 30th birthday party, and then we're going to somehow get into a car and go home, and then I'm going to recover from all of this. I never drink ever, and I've been having way too much fun. So
I'm drinking coffee, everybody. Just to be
I'm
clear.
drinking tea now.
I'm the designated driver.
But in any case, when I get home, I'm going to finish watching them. I doubt I'm going to get you to watch because I got you to watch like an episode and a half. And then when I tried to get you to watch the last episode and a half of the last tranche that dropped, you said, what did you say, Sean?
You watch and tell me what happens.
Yeah.
And then I fell asleep.
Then he fell asleep. And I have to say, I have been loving it. But there are some serious things that are happening in this thing. And we are going to break it down. Because actually, Sean, even though you don't love the whole drama, you do know something about big families. You do know something about what it's like to enter into a big family. So I have 4 siblings. I'm one of 4 siblings. Sean is one of 11 siblings. So Sean is number 10 of 11 siblings, a very Irish Catholic phenomenon.
One mama.
All from the same mama who looks amazing. One would never know she had that many because she looks fantastic. But in any case, when I entered into your family, I was so fascinated by, this giant Irish Catholic family, 11 kids, all the drama, all the stuff that happens. Imagine coming into the royal family with all of the, the people that are surrounded, the godmothers and the cousins and everyone is royal and having this 1,000-year history. And Meghan, on her part, comes from a divorced family. She was pretty much raised like an only child and dreamed of having a family. And she actually talks about in the documentary that she was excited about entering this family because she thought it was exciting to have the big family that she always dreamed of as a child. So she gets this family plus the crown, right? She's like this princess, but it all falls apart.
And that's the thing. I don't understand because you'd think that as Meghan comes in, as I'm an outside observer here, as you are, but I'm like an outside
really
watcher.
Outside observer.
But you would think, what an honor that I've found from her perspective this great hunk. He's
Not
a
hunky,
prince.
but okay.
Great,
But he is a prince,
right? And I get to join this amazing family, and I think there would be a lot of honor and prestige with being able to join that family with the wedding and, to your point, the pomp and the circumstance that goes with joining this, premier global family. But it doesn't seem like she's taken it that way and said, you know what, I'm going to do what I can to fit in, to figure out what my role is. It seems like she's wanted to make everyone change how they've done things for 1,000 years to the way Meghan Markle does things over the course of her, 34 years or however old she is.
Well, she's like 37.
Yeah.
She's 37. But probably when she came into the family, in her mid-30s and divorced. Look, so I think that it's very interesting because on the one hand, she would say and this has been said, and this is why this is so dangerous, because as you know, Sean, in big families, this is why I think it's interesting having you in. There are things that you may think at the moment that are probably better left unsaid. Because if you say them, especially if you say them on camera for $100 million on Netflix, right? You don't get to take that back. And so they are saying things like this. I'm going to fill you in because you haven't been loving watching it as much as I have. She's saying, well, I did go, do all these things that I'm supposed to do. And I took this, trip abroad and the reviews were so positive. They're jealous. I was supposed to be a supporting character and they hate the way I'm getting all this attention. And Harry literally comes in and says, look, she was supposed to be a supporting character and she's doing it better than people who are supposed to be born to do this. Can you imagine saying this in the family? So the insult is to his own brother and to Princess Kate to say, you guys are dropping bad stories about my wife. You're feeding the press these bad stories because you're jealous that actually she's so amazing and she's doing such a great job. That's how they're interpreting it. Now, clearly she was unhappy in this role, and it might have been actually that she didn't like being the supporting character.
Right. She wants
because you can't be the queen. She will never be the queen. The queen will be Camilla first. Well, the queen at the time was the queen, and then she died. And then the queen is going to be Camilla. And then shortly, at some point, it's going to be Kate. That's the line of succession.
So I take the human perspective on this and go, what is the right thing to do? Let's say what she says is true. Meghan Markle is just so amazing, and she does this traveling. And people are like so wowed by her, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone gets to be jealous. And maybe they are dropping some negative stories, but it seems like there are a lot of.
She has her own. She created her own negative stories, right? She didn't like
family.
She didn't like her dad and all the stuff that happened with the photos and.
But the thing is, most good people go, I'm just going to continue to be excellent. What did Melania Trump say? Be excellent. Was that Bill and Ted be excellent to each other?
No,
Sorry,
that's Bill and Ted be excellent to each other. No, Melania Trump said be best.
Be best. Be best.
Be best.
Be your best self.
Are you saying that Meghan Markle, who wouldn't even leave her cottage to meet the Trumps when they came to England, should just be best?
Be best, yes. And if you were best or you were excellent to each other, as Bill and Ted would have said back in the day, you would go, listen, I'm going to let this roll off my shoulders and continue to be great. And they're going to, I'm so good at this, eat my dust. Right. But that's not, what it tells me is that really isn't what was happening.
Right.
She wasn't actually that great at it. She wasn't actually having everyone fawn over how wonderful she was. I think to your point, Rachel, she was probably jealous that she was in the supporting role and wasn't in the lead role in this family.
Also, I think it appears to me that Meghan really likes the glamour. And, all the stuff that comes with being a celebrity and then a princess. But the reality is that if you really look at the life of a royal, the life of a royal is a life of service. It truly is. I mean, yes, they live in palaces and yes, they have these fabulous trips and they go on yachts. But ultimately, there's a lot. And you understand this too, Sean. You have been a politician. People think our life was really glamorous. I mean, a lot of people thought we had just the greatest life when you were running for Congress. And it was an honor, but it was a lot of work. And, if you look at all the Lincoln Day dinners and the parades and the this and that, I mean, it's work.
It's a grind.
It's a grind. And I don't think she liked the grind. She didn't like being second string to Kate. She didn't like the bad press. That's part of what it's like being a real celebrity. She was a B-C-list celebrity. Nobody wrote about her in the National Enquirer, Sean. Nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Once she became a princess, then it became interesting.
So to that point, now people care. Can I ask you, why should we care? Because I'm going to take this to 30,000 foot because I look at this family drama and I look at, look at our own history. We fought to go, get the hell out of our lives. We don't want your power. We don't want your control. We don't want your crown in our American lives, or your taxes. Leave us alone. And we fought a war to rid ourselves of these people. Right. And there's still people who are still, under the umbrella of the crown. Right.
Right. The
we are not, but we are not.
That's right.
And so as Americans, I look and go, why should I care about this? I know it's a 1,000-year-old institution, but this thing is old. This thing is something from the past, and this thing is something that's really un-American. And so whether Meghan Markle destroys the crown or elevates the crown, why do I give one hoot about these self-centered, privileged people who have nothing in common with anybody who's living their lives today in the Joe Biden economy? They don't share anything. I mean, again, that they're able to play victims. Meghan Markle is a victim getting $100 million. This is just one paycheck from Netflix.
Yeah.
No one can
that's
relate
just
to
Netflix,
that.
not the
and they're complaining about it. I mean, what spoiled brats who are becoming famous because of this thing that people died and we fought over for our own freedom to get rid of them? Why now does however many generations later do you go, no, I want to bring this back into my home because I think it's so special? Tell me why.
Okay, so
why do
first
I care?
of all, I understand what you're saying. It's a very lovely, patriotic take that you've taken on why you don't want to watch this docuseries with your wife. It's for the American flag and the revolution, and you're doing it for the founding fathers.
I'm a patriot, Rachel. I'm a patriot. That's true.
And you're a patriot, okay? But and Howard Stern would agree with you. He says they're whiny little bitches.
And
but once you agree with Howard Stern,
I don't like Howard Stern, but he is right there, whiny little bitches.
Okay, so I get all that, but here's why I tell you this is important. And why it's important to me, not as an American.
Don't poo-poo what I said, but you got to go,
No,
why should I care?
I agree. I understand. I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm going to tell you why I think it matters. So first of all, from just a human level, in our own families, we've had family drama. And so it's very interesting to see how other people handle the drama. And we've all made mistakes. And what's interesting to me, being older than Meghan Markle and in a marriage and in a and actually a much bigger family than hers, probably, although this family is, has a lot of history and whatnot behind it. I'm saying that there are things that you feel that you should probably keep to yourself because you might not feel that way 5 years later. But now it's on this docuseries. And here's the part where I think the conservative in me comes. So I agree. I don't care or even in much understand the royal family. When she talked about having to curtsy to the queen, that would be weird for me too. I'm an American. I don't curtsy to anybody. I don't bow to anyone but God. I don't get on my knees for anybody except to pray. So I understand that. However, as a conservative, there is something about the tradition that I like. There is something about the British monarchy's role in just Western civilization that I like. And here is something that I want to talk about. And I brought this up on Stuart Varney for the first time this morning, and he actually gave me kudos. He said this was a very original thinking, Rachel.
Thank you, Stuart.
Stuart. So here's my thought. Sean, do you remember what was the first thing that Barack Obama did when he came into office, when he entered into the Oval Office? What was the first thing he did? I do,
because you and I talked about it on the way here. He took the bust of Winston Churchill out of the Oval Office and he returned it back.
Yep, he returned it to the Brits. And there was a lot of offense taken. I remember Nigel Farage being upset about it, many Brits upset about it. And later he had to kind of cover it up and go, oh, well, it's because I, wanted to put in Martin Luther King. That's why I did it. But the truth is that Barack Obama doesn't like the British Empire. He is, his father is famously from Kenya. There are some people in the Commonwealth areas of the world that hate the British Empire, and especially those on the liberal side, on the leftist side, who see it as imperialism and all this stuff. And they really hate it. They want to tear it down. Now, here's my theory. Barack Obama hates the Brits, hates the legacy of the English Empire, hates colonialism. He thinks they're a bunch of imperialist white racists. And as you know, Barack Obama has a lot of power at Netflix. Netflix is his playground in many ways. And I believe that Barack Obama wanted this to be a lucrative deal for Meghan Markle, that she, as a fellow leftist, that she understood she would need to not just say, hey, they were mean to me and they didn't let me wear the crown I wanted on my wedding day. That was not going to be enough for $100 million. She was going to have to take on the very idea of a monarchy, to take on the history of the British Empire. and what she and others claim they did to civilizations in those areas of the Commonwealth. And so I believe that in many ways this is very dangerous to the crown and to the institution of the monarchy. And one of the things that the British, that the Queen, before she died, was very, very big on, Sean, was the Commonwealth, keeping the Commonwealth and British influence over the Commonwealth intact. And I think that the fact that she brought on historians onto this docuseries who were basically attacking the legacy of British colonialism and wrapping it up in racism is dangerous to the crown. And this will be dangerous to Charles, and this will be dangerous to William.
First of all, I agree that it's dangerous to the crown. And I do think
so. You don't think I'm crazy?
I do think that there's something nice about keeping old traditions and old traditions alive, right, for generations to come. I get that.
It's part of the British character.
Yeah, but again, they're playing that British character. They're playing that crown in our backyard, right, and tantalizing us with this story of this family drama, of this empire that we ridded ourselves of, 250 years ago. But what I find interesting on your point on Barack Obama, you might have Meghan Markle, who doesn't really care about the crown, right? She cares about the fame, that she has a prince.
She cares about the money.
She gets to live in America, and she gets the money. That's right. But you do have Harry, who is completely selling his family out.
Thank you. Yes.
And I look at that and go, yes, I can be angry at my family. We all can get angry at our families. But, and again, you can be angry in a moment. You can be angry for an afternoon. But this was a well thought out, burning anger. This show took a long time to film and then produce and then launch. Harry had to say yes to all of it. And then he said yes to actually throwing the monarchy, if this is what's happened, under the bus and potentially endanger its existence, it's
remarkable, right?
It's remarkable. But it says something about him. It says something about where he's at. Maybe he is really angry.
He is hurt.
Or maybe he's really just selfish.
Could be.
He's a selfish young man who's been privileged. And yes, he was hurt when his mother passed away, died in the horrible car crash, Lady Di. But there's a lot of people who have tragedy in their life that choose to use that tragedy in a different way than he's using it. You can't use that as a crutch.
Yeah.
Because, listen, tragedy exists in the world and people don't behave like that. And so, again, I find we watched Yellowstone, and the thing with Yellowstone, and Rachel thinks that none of the characters are redeemable. She hates all the characters.
We're going to have to do a whole episode on Yellowstone. I'm so upset at Yellowstone. I can't even stand it.
In this story are you talking
about Yellowstone now?
No, I'm comparing Yellowstone, where there's no redeemable characters. In this real live stories, there are no redeemable characters with Meghan and Harry. They're not redeemable.
What, Sean? The redeemable character died a few weeks ago. That's the problem. Months ago.
And so your point of saying we need to watch this, we need to watch the royal family on Netflix, but you want to shut me down from watching what's it called? The Yellowstone. Unfair. They both have unredeemable qualities.
I'm begrudgingly watching Yellowstone, even though it's pissing the hell out of me that everyone's saying it's a conservative show. There's nothing conservative about Yellowstone.
Do you
nothing.
Get my point? And
other than that they have great music.
But again, there's nothing conservative about these radical liberals who, are preaching global warming, flying around on private.
I agree.
Jets.
I agree. Charles is insufferable. I think William's a woke little baby too. But what I'm saying is that the institution itself, what the Queen cared for and nurtured for how many years, Sean, did she do that? For how many years did she nurture and care for the crown, for the institution, for the British people? She was a woman of service. She went around and brought together the Commonwealth and found the best values that Western civilization had to offer and wrapped her arms around them and encouraged them to wrap their arms around that. I actually have so much respect for her and what she did. Yes, it makes me sad that it got passed off to these idiots. But my point is, let's go back to what you said. Harry is hurt. There's no excuse for what he's done to trash his family. There's no amount of money that could be worth trashing your family. However, and I generally don't like to blame the wifey for things. I think that's, maybe that's because I'm a wife. But I would say that there is something kind of evil about what she's done. She took this guy who's clearly hurting and just really brought out the worst in him. Just brought out the worst in him and turned him and did it all for money. And, you know, I look at you and I as a married couple. I've had problems in my family. You've had problems in your family. All families have that. And what makes a good couple is that when you want to lash out, you have your spouse going, come on.
Whoa, settle down.
Whoa, don't
Yes.
just settle down. Honey, you're going to regret that. That's what a good spouse does. A good spouse lets you listen to your better angels. And a bad spouse, a selfish, self-centered, money-grubbing wife like Meghan Markle goes, you know what? Let's cash in on all that. And that's what she did.
So here's this is my last take, though. I'm sorry, because you are watching the show, right? You're streaming the show, and there's millions of Americans.
You think I'm trashing the queen by just watching
streaming this show, right? What you're doing is guaranteeing that these two people, Meghan and Harry, are going to make millions more because they sell. People like you who can't stand them actually are making them rich.
I love to hate them. I can't.
You're
help
making
it.
them rich. And listen, I think the story and the characters are so disgusting that we should just again have a tea party in our house and kick their asses out and go, listen, get off our TV screens.
I'm actually
get out of
drinking
here.
tii during the show.
I know you are, and so am I. But
you're drinking tea. That's not very American of you.
I know it's not because just to be clear, I'm 5 days with no caffeine, and so I'm drinking caffeine-free teas. I'm telling you all my secrets.
Yellowstone and manly.
It's not. My boots are. But the point is, we should boycott this. I know you're interested, and I know there's this.
Listen, I'm too far in. You're not going to get me to not watch the last 3 episodes. It's not going to happen.
I think if you listen,
just like even though I'm mad at Yellowstone, I'm going to finish the
to our podcast. Don't watch it. Don't make these people rich. Lying, environmental, American-hating little grubbers. Don't watch their stuff. They'll go out of business. Send them back. This is if you want them out of America, the best way to send them back is to not watch their garbage. They can't make money in America.
Listen,
they
Sean,
have to
they're
grovel
stuck here.
back to the king for cash.
They can't. They're not going back. They will never go back, and that's what makes this documentary. So I'm gonna tie this up with the bow here.
We're gonna have another topic.
I know we have multiple topics we need to get to. They can't go back, and that's what's so fascinating. They have made their bed. They have made their money, and they cannot go back. There's no coming back from this now, unless, as Donald Trump predicted, he divorces Meghan, and Donald did predict that he would divorce her.
There's a great biblical analogy here, and it's called the parable of the prodigal son.
You think he's going to be the problem? I don't think Charles is going to welcome him back with the wing and a fatted calf.
A party for him as he comes down the roadway.
I don't think that's happening.
You know
what? Here's why it's not going to happen.
Father's love
you know
for
why it's not going to happen? Because Harry is not Charles's son. You've seen the pictures of the polo player.
Okay. Whoa.
Listen, our producers are back there. They have seen the pictures. He is the son of the hot, sexy polo player. And Diana had.
You showed me a picture of this, and you said, "Look at the noses." I'm like, the noses of the polo player and Charles.
British nose. They all have big noses, but that is not what that's about. This is really about the polo player and the ginger hair. No one has ginger hair. Okay. And also they're the eyes, the mouth.
Oh, okay.
So Charles is not going to bring back the polo player's son. It's done.
Next flick series.
And whether you like it or not.
Who is his father? Who is Harry's father?
It sounds more like a Jerry Springer show.
Maybe we can then stop watching. It's not royalty at all anyway.
None of them are royalty. Actually, that's, you know what, Sean?
That could be the best outcome here.
That is the bottom line. And by the way, I predict that Charles will eventually take away their crowns.
I'm a fan of Larry Kudlow, who had this mantra of "Save America, Kill the Bill," back when they had the big spending bill for environmental.
There's always big spending bills.
Save America, kill the Netflix show with this royal couple.
You can't. It's already done really well.
Anyway.
Okay, so let's go to another despicable character. His name is Pete Buttigieg.
Petey boy. Okay, so Pete Buttigieg. Listen, this fascinates me because Pete Buttigieg. Again, all these global warming,
fake environmentalists.
Right. They fan the flames. The world's going to end. Right.
They make us pay for high gas prices.
They want us to buy electric cars. They want high gas prices. They want high heating prices in our homes.
No jobs for Americans.
no drilling in America. They have like all these things they're trying to put on us, right? And in essence, they want us to ride bicycles.
Yeah.
Right. Ride your bicycle, ride your little moped that gets 60 miles to the gallon, or drive an electric car, but a gas sipping American car or gas guzzling like our Ford F-150, you can't have that. I love it too. So, but Pete Buttigieg, who's so concerned about the environment, took a private plane 18 times as the Secretary of Transportation.
Whoa. He says it's not a private plane. It's a government plane. It's a government private plane. So he says that doesn't count.
There's a loophole there, right?
There's a loophole.
It's a private plane just for Pete Buttigieg.
If
but
you
the government,
pay for it, Sean, it's not a private plane.
Right.
If you, the taxpayer, pay for it, it's not a private
it's not
plane.
private. But here's the. I mean, it's so fascinating that these people promote these ideas. Again, the very ideas that they're unwilling to live by, right? They drive around in SUVs, multiple SUV convoys through D.C. Remember the one that Pete Buttigieg, then a block away from the White House, got out of the SUV, grabbed his bike, and like rode in.
Yeah,
this is the kind of showmanship that tells me they don't believe in what they're talking about, right? They don't believe the world's going to end. They don't believe the seas are going to rise, because if they did, they go, listen, I really should ride a horse. I shouldn't even drive a car. I'm not going to fly in a private airplane.
I could stomach the hypocrisy if he was actually doing his job, but he sucks at his job.
He doesn't do the job.
He doesn't exactly. So we know that one of the biggest things that was going to happen was this rail strike. And we're learning now.
Rail is transportation, which is under Pete Buttigieg. This is like the biggest crisis a Secretary of Transportation could come across is a rail strike, especially in these times. It would have destroyed the economy, right?
Right, exactly. And by the way, this is on the heels of the whole supply chain thing that he was out for 4 months. Sean, he had
maternity leave.
I guess
paternity leave.
Paternity leave.
Right.
He was on. He took more time off than I did. And on the last one, as you know, I had a C-section and I was nursing. And I'm assuming Pete Buttigieg is not nursing.
Or did he have a C-section?
I know he didn't have a C-section. So what the hell was he doing? And we were in the middle of a supply chain.
It's vacation time, right? So he's not doing his job. Listen, they like the glory of being a secretary, but listen, these jobs, you expect people to be smart and work hard at them because, maybe to your point of the Queen, it's in service to the country.
Right.
But Pete Buttigieg and so many others just cash the check, fly in the private plane, get celebrated, and maybe run for president one day. But there's a job to be done. And just even on the private plane thing, going back to that, he said in a statement that says, however, there are some cases where it is more efficient and or less expensive for the secretary to accompany personnel to fly on a 9-seater FAA plane rather than a commercial flight. So basically saying it's cheaper and more efficient for us to fly on a private plane than it is to fly commercial. Well, I thought the point with these global warming folks was not the cost.
That's right.
It's the emissions.
Exactly.
Right? But here he doesn't care about the emissions. Now he's like, oh, no, I care about that. I'm going to save taxpayers money. Why I have this.
Well, that's what John Kerry said. Remember, he said, listen, I'm a VIP. Yeah. I have to get to the climate summit, and it's just more efficient for me to go by private plane. What's your problem? Which
goes to the point that we talked about this a little bit on Fox and Friends. We've talked about getting an electric car, a Tesla, and
no. Okay. Sean talked about getting an electric car. I've always been against a car that puts China, makes China more powerful in terms of our economy. And I also don't want a vehicle that in some way involves the slave labor of little 9-year-old African children. So, no, I have never been in favor of an electric car.
You entertained it with me. You entertained it with me. But the reason I don't care about the electric side of it, I cared about the technology side of a Tesla to keep my kids safe with the technology they had inside. But I think
it's for the kids.
It's for the kids.
You sound like John Kerry.
But the point with this is that you were like, listen, I'm going to have a gas using vehicle. I'm not going to buy in or support this leftist transition to electricity.
I don't want Joe Biden telling me what car to buy.
And by the way, I'm not in, like, as you know, I'm not like, I'm like, I like a truck. I like a Suburban.
I know.
I did want the kids to actually go. There's a self-driving. There's a self-driving. I mean, you have like almost autonomous driving with the thing. But anyway, the point is, you're making a decision here to go, we're not going to have an electric vehicle because we love the American economy that is around gas. And we're not concerned about global warming. We're not concerned about sea levels rising.
Right.
And the point is, they aren't either.
And that's right.
And
that's
it goes
right.
to this other point of, again, another example of this is about power control. This is about transforming America into something completely different than what we've grown up with. And it's empowering these elites. When you listen, you can turn electricity on and off far more easy than you can a gas station on
That's
or
right.
off. Electricity is far more centralized.
This is exactly the point, Sean. This is where they're going with it.
And you have the whole oil and gas industry is decentralized.
That's right.
And once you centralize things, you can't run your car unless the utility in your community says you can get electricity for it. It's power and control, and that's what concerns me. And again, I don't believe their lies. Again, I want to be a clean steward of the environment. I don't like, again, I'd say this, I love our lake place up in Hayward, Wisconsin, and I want the water to be clean. I want to be a good steward of the lake. I want to be a good steward of the forest. Because I believe that. But I don't believe that the world is ending in 12 years, as AOC would say, because of global warming. Right. And nor does Pete Buttigieg, nor does John Kerry, nor does President Biden. None of them do. I just look
it's
at the
about
way they
totalitarianism. It's about authoritarianism. It's about control. And I think exactly what you said, Sean. They ultimately want us onto a system that they can control. They can control our lives. Really quick before we end this Pete Buttigieg story. So in the middle of the rail strike, he was sending out emails pretending like he was actually in Washington, D.C. handling this.
He's at his desk working.
When in fact, we now know he was in Portugal on vacation. And so this is how seriously he takes transportation. I believe that these stories are disqualifying for him. I know that a lot of people talk about him because the left loves that he's, the first gay secretary, whatever. These are disqualifying characteristics. They show how incompetent he is. I don't think anything has been run worse than our transportation department. It's one of the worst run departments right now in our federal government. I believe he used this position just to push out a bunch of green energy crap. He hasn't done anything to make actually flying, driving, paying for your gasoline, anything better. It's all woke crap.
Well, I just go, how inconsequential is he? The fact that you have a supply chain crisis and he's on maternity leave and we didn't even know it because he was gone, but we're like,
or this rail strike and he was in Portugal.
He's in Portugal on vacation. Yeah. We didn't even know it.
He's
an inconsequential player. He's not engaged. He's not in control. And by the way, to your point, things are a disaster. I mean, try to fly.
Oh, it's horrible.
FAA, airlines. The whole thing is a disaster, which again falls at the feet of Pete Buttigieg. It would be nice to have a guy show up and do the job who actually would know how to do the job. They talk about South Bend, Indiana. There was it was like one of the worst cities to drive in. Potholes everywhere. And now he's the transportation secretary.
Yeah.
So
this is what you do when you have affirmative action as
right.
your leading characteristic instead of competence when choosing people and you're filling boxes instead of looking at merit-based hiring.
So the takeaway from this podcast is...
we have one more topic.
Oh, we do have one more topic?
We have one more topic. It's very important, Sean.
What is it?
Well, we're in the middle of Advent. We're in the middle of Advent.
Oh, yes.
And so this is very, very, very interesting.
This is a great Advent story. It's going to warm your heart.
This is like the anti-Advent story. So it turns out that there was an Advent calendar that went for $3,500. I believe it was a Dior. Was it Dior? Yeah, it was a Dior Advent calendar. So first of all, the whole idea of Advent, Sean, is about preparing your hearts for Jesus' coming on Christmas Day. So a $3,500 Advent calendar, not exactly in the spirit of Christmas, the true spirit of Christmas. But okay, so you're really rich, you do this. And so this TikToker, this influencer decides to get this calendar. Maybe it was even gifted to her. I don't know. And she decides to go day by day and show, the rest of us commoners, what it's like to get this Advent calendar. What do you get every day, in a $3,500? I mean, what would you expect to get, Sean, in a $3,500 Advent calendar?
Listen, I'm still at chocolate.
Yeah, you're still okay with chocolate.
With the kids.
You're with the kids. Chocolate's fine, right?
Really good, expensive chocolate.
Really good, expensive chocolate. Right. Well, this girl was thinking what most women were thinking, that, maybe I would get some accessories, maybe a little piece of jewelry, maybe something, So she opens her Advent calendar and she gets this very expensive, some candles can be expensive. You can get a $200 candle. She opens the next day's calendar and it's just the lid for the candle that she got the day before. Okay. Then she opens another drawer in the Advent calendar. This is a very elaborate calendar. And she finds that there's like soaps. And she's starting to see that it looks like, when you buy something expensive and then they kind of give you the free stuff that comes with it, it looks more like that free sample stuff that you get at department stores that they've decided to put into this Advent calendar. And she's basically saying, actually, she says something very funny. She's like, this is the TikToker, I was expecting really nice jewelry or accessories. This looks like a Bath and Body Works Advent calendar box, which I thought was very funny. So Chanel, who put this out, is getting really slammed for an Advent calendar that's really not in the spirit of Christmas, and B, being really cheap about it.
No, I look at this and I go, how out of touch some people. I'm just sorry. I look at, again, a $3,500 calendar for Advent. Again, you might spend $15 on an Advent calendar with chocolates.
So I spent
kids.
like 10 or 11 on each calendar. But by the way, I had to multiply that by how many kids we had.
It gets to be expensive.
I was kind of like, oh.
But again, this thing, and I'm sorry, this is not probably where you wanted to go with this, but you just see this divide in America of how most of Americans live and how this other part lives so much differently, that someone would have $3,500 to blow on a stupid Advent calendar from, I don't even, is it Dior? I don't even.
Christian Dior.
Dior, whatever that is.
Yeah. Chanel, it's like
whatever. So, but it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
But you have that.
I love that you don't even know what I'm talking about.
And then you have the royals who are making $100 million, on the stupid film.
Thing, yes.
And we care about them and their royalty and their victims. Then even Pete Buttigieg, who doesn't do his job, who makes $174,000 a year and flies around on private planes and tells us that we all have to stop polluting the earth. I mean, this whole thing has become so warped, the world in which we live in. And I think there becomes an underlying, even though it's entertaining, and it's entertaining and it's interesting.
We can laugh about it. Yeah.
I think gets to be this deep-seated seething that happens in the ways that people live so much differently. Mm-hmm. The elites have one thing, one set of standards and one lifestyle, and the rest of us live a different way with a different lifestyle. And that's become acceptable, where in our country for so long, there's a huge middle class. You have a few on the top and a few at the bottom, but there's a big, vibrant middle class. And this is all happening as we have these policies that are crushing people. And it doesn't have to be that way. They're intentionally crushing people, making them poor. The poorest that people have been in, since we've been alive, is right now because of inflation and gas prices and the food and the grocery store and car prices and rent and housing and interest rates. It's killing people. And you have $3,500 for a calendar during Advent. Wouldn't you be better served to go, I got $3,500. There are some kids out there where their parents have no money. I'm going to give that cash and they're going to get some great presents this Christmas. Wouldn't that be a cool thing to do if you had $3,500 to burn up? I don't know. I'm sorry, that's not where you wanted to go,
actually,
but
I think it's spot on. I think that it is obscene. I agree with you. I'm glad that I think it's obscene. And listen, I agree with you on Meghan and Harry as well. Meghan and Harry, by the way, are also the kind of people who, they have been big climate activists. They famously said they only had 2 kids because they didn't think it was, a right thing to do for the environment to have more than 2 kids. So
they fly on private aircraft.
And then they flew on private aircraft to get an environmental award. They do this stuff all the time. So, but it's more than just that you have the haves and have nots. It's more than just the policies you're talking about. It's that they are creating these policies and they don't have to live by the rules.
That's right.
They don't live by the rules that are crushing everybody else. And so I think they're all. It's interesting how you've tied them all together. I kudos, Sean.
Oh, thank you.
Kudos.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to end this here soon, but I just want to say that.
We don't have $3,500. We have little.
I promise you, I would not spend $3,500 on that.
We do have Advent calendars, and
yeah, we do.
We make sure we get them for the kids, and they look forward to them, and they open up each door every night. That's right. When we
do our prayers at night.
That's right. And they get a little piece of chocolate, and it's this little sweet reminder of the season that we're in of Advent. And we try to, we have our 3 candles lit now in the 3rd week of Advent. And we also have a certain song we play. If you want to tell everyone what it is, you can.
We play every night. We turn out all the lights. We light the candles, and we play "O Come, O Come, Emmanuel." But we play Sean's favorite version of it.
This is Enya. So listen, I'm sorry, I'm not a big Enya fan, but Enya has the best version of "O Come, O Come, Emmanuel." It's amazing.
It's beautiful. It's haunting.
Go
it's
on
gorgeous.
and listen to it. It's amazing.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. And I know that at this time, especially as this has been hard. I think the politics of the last, couple of years have been hard. This last election was hard. People can get down, and the economy can get them down. And they're talking about a recession coming, if we're not already in one next year. But again, there's so much to celebrate. There's so much.
There's still so much
families.
hope and love and things that we can think about.
There really is, and I think that's what we have to go to. And sometimes you tell these stories, and it reminds us, what the good things really are in life. The meaningful things are in life, and it's not that we can laugh about it and have fun, but there's a meaningful
Sean,
season behind it.
The 3 last episodes of Meghan and Harry, they will pass. I will watch them tonight, and they will be over. And we will never have to talk about Meghan.
I'm saying, can I say bullshit on the podcast? Because this is not over. I thought this is like the 4th podcast I've had to do on these people, and listen, just I'm a great husband because I say yes to this, even though I'm like, really, do I have to talk about this again?
You did such a good job talking about them,
but I don't want to, right? And I don't think America should either. So anyway, we're not from our kitchen table today. We're at the Fox Studios, and we do wish you all a Merry Christmas, to actually sit in this season and suck it up and enjoy it and love your family and love each other.
And love your husband.
Love your husband. And listen, if you're...
who at least, goes along with the...
Goes along to get along. And with that, from the kitchen table. From the kitchen table in New York. Listen, if you like our podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. We would be grateful. And until next week, as we're just a few days then away from Christmas.
That's right.
We'll talk to you then. Have a good one.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.